Hello, everybody. Greetings from Greece, from Thessaloniki, where we still have sunshine and about 28 degrees today, so probably tomorrow is going to be a good time for swimming. Okay, this is a very unusual case of ectasia, referred to us a couple of years ago. He was a 23-year-old male who was referred for a keratoconus on progress for further management. His vision, according to the doctor, deteriorated over the last 4 years, and mainly it was a huge myopia, as you can see, about 18 diopters and 7 diopters of astigmatism. And this poor chap had a corrected visual acuity of 3 out of 10, with a very bad result, seeking for management of his keratoconus, or at least that's what his doctor referred to us. Next slide, please. Here you can see clearly on the pentacam the unusual and astigmatism, where it's highly irregular, very thin cornea, extremely thin center, and all the irregularities of the posterior, which clearly identifies a very advanced stage 4 keratoconic appearance. But can I have the next slide? When you see the other eye, the picture is totally different. And this actually struck my into my eye that this is a perfectly, a little bit thin cornea. It's about centrally about 522, but overall, a perfectly good cornea, a perfectly regular low astigmatism without any posterior elevation or anterior elevation. So that rose to me some alarm, so I start discussing with him. But first, next slide, please. When I see the examination, somehow this cornea appeared centrally quite clear, but next slide. There was a little scar that I could just about see over there, which was slightly inferior. So when I asked him, did you have any accident, or did it happen, something happened in your eye? He didn't recall anything in the beginning, and then his mom said to me that yes, when he was about 12, 13 years ago, when he was 10 years old, he was hit with a little wooden object outside in the park. But she said that it was really nothing, because this happened. He cried a little bit. He went to the hospital. They look at the eye and they say, well, nothing really happens. Just pat the eye and you can go. Nothing really happens. So then I said, we decided to do an OCT. If I can have the next slide. And you can actually see that he managed to slice his cornea, but in a perfect, like, femtosecond laser, wooden femtosecond laser appearance. Can I have the next slide, that you can see actually the next? And the next, you can see this line which is separating the cornea. Can I have the next? So together with it, there are 2 videos, but unfortunately they don't play. But you can see that this sliding, this unusual appearance of the flap, it was a self-sealing traumatic flap, which managed to just cut a part of the cornea, remain there just like a very deep 400 microns flap. That didn't cause anything for him for the first 3 or 4 years. But then ectasia came over, without myopia, of course, but ectasia came over. And then we have to do something about it, and you can understand cross-linking or anything else is out of question. Can I have the video, please? So we decided to do a DALC, which didn't have any problems, although there was the scarring in a superior position. We managed to go a little bit under the scarring, and we could feel the opening of the graft as if it was an ectatic situation in another LASIK, but as you can see, big bubble was really relatively easy and straightforward. Here we would do big bubble with an insulin syringe. Now we're using a different cannula, and then proceed as the standard way. So we didn't actually face any problems at all. This is a brave slash, then viscoelastic behind the stroma, in between stroma and descemetes. You can see the bubbles all in the periphery. Cut it into 4 pieces, like the way we do the pizza slices. You can see clearly when we cut the pieces that there is the bubble in the anterior chamber still there. That gives us a good sign that the descemate also is there. And then cut it nicely without having this appearance of that huge keratoconic case. If this was a keratoconic case, then the deeper stroma would have been much softer. So the deeper stroma wasn't that soft, but unfortunately the cut has biomechanically took off almost 4/5 of his cornea, leaving him with just 130 microns healthy, biomechanically healthy posterior stroma, which wasn't good enough to survive all the tension of the IOP. And now you can see the last pieces, the last minutes of the operation where we put the sutures and the suturing. So yeah, can we go back to the presentation? So this is the early postoperatively, the first week. Next slide. And then the first month. Next slide. And can I have the next slide? You can see here the OCT, clearly the edges, and the big bubble is there without any problems. Can I have the next slide? We removed the sutures. He had a little bit of astigmatism left over, so we did astigmatic keratotomies. He had about 4 diopters of astigmatism. This is 6 months post-op after removing the sutures. Can I have the next slide? And the next one, where we performed the astigmatic keratotomies. This is before the operation. The next slide. This is before the astigmatic keratotomies, and the next slide, and the final, I think, the final result is half a diopter with 2 diopters of astigmatism and uncorrected 6.6 out of 10. And we're planning to do, and these are my kids, and we're planning to do an OCT guided to improve slightly his cone inferiorly and his coma inferiorly, and get him out to 10 out of 10 safely and nice. And thank you very much from Thessaloniki, Greece. These are the questions now. Hopefully we can understand what we did. So it was a case of a lamellar cornea trauma in childhood, resulted in ectasia. And the reason is that the patient had keratoconus in both eyes. A sharp wooden object performed a deep lamellar cut in the cornea. Any lamellar cut can induce this kind of ectasia. All this was an unfortunate because of a trauma using the top radix drop. So I can tell you that it's not number 4. So we left with 3. Thank you.
So we have the last 5 seconds, and the voting systems are active.
And of course, this is a correct answer.
So Miltos, thank you very much. I think that was a very interesting and rare case. So are there any questions to Miltos regarding this rare case? Miltos, how deep was actually this cut approximately?
His cornea, of course, now it was an ectatic one, but it was about more than 3/4 of the corneal thickness. The corneal thickness that when he came in was about 400 microns. So this was about 300 microns, but you can anticipate that due to the ectasia, there was some thickness loss anyway.
3/4 of the cornea, pretty deep, and it kind of healed for a long time. Everyone was happy, but then the ectasia developed, correct?
The amazing thing is that he went to the hospital and they said, oh, nothing is okay, just pat the eye for 1 day, and then everything was in place, just like doing a very deep LASIK flap.
Which object was that? With a wooden...
It was a tree, a very fine tree that had some kind of stings at the edge. Lucky enough, he didn't have any fungal infection. I mean, this chap was a very, very lucky chap. No infection, just got into this little edge of this tree, cut a perfect flap, and then repositioned the flap even better than the LASIK surgeon, I think.
Okay, thank you so much. Really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pavel.